Hi, do you know that friend of yours who is a little different and a little quirky? Who is too shy or too sincere and may even seem rude? So that friend of yours might be autistic. Today's video is about 10 signs of mild autism in adults. At the end of the video, you can take the test. 10 questions to see if you fit the spectrum. But is there a difference between autism in adults and children? Yes, first, because those who reached adulthood without the diagnosis have a lighter condition. Secondly, the autistic person, like all people, develops as he grows up and learns to mask the signs. This video will help you understand it a little more, and you may be able to see these characteristics in a friend, family member, or even yourself. But first, enjoy the video, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our health tips, and turn on the bell to receive notifications. And spread this knowledge to as many people as possible. Share there! And tell me, do you know someone with autism? Do you have a friend or family member who fits? Or are you autistic yourself? What part of the world are you from? Write it down there. Come on! One of the graphs that shocked me the most was the enormous growth of autism worldwide in recent years. And when I say huge, I'm not kidding. In the 1970s, 1 in 10,000 people were diagnosed with autism. By 1995, that number had grown to 1 in every 1,000 people. In 2002, this number was 1 in every 150. And now the statistic is 1 in every 54 live births. Does this mean that in a little while, everyone will be autistic? Not even. Autism may have increased because of our diet, pollution, and parental age. Parents are having older children. Most importantly, we learned to recognize autism better to make a diagnosis. In the 1970s or 1980s, only those individuals with more incredible difficulty adapting to daily life and a greater need for support were diagnosed as autistic. Those extreme cases. Many of those with milder conditions reached adulthood without a diagnosis. They were labeled weird, naive, discreet, strange, quiet, shy. They may even have received other psychiatric diagnoses, not knowing that autism was the basis of everything. I bet that after watching this video, you will suspect this condition in many acquaintances or, who knows, even in yourself. So stay until the end to take the test. But what is autism? Autism is nothing more than a diverse neurological condition characterized by impaired communication and social interaction. This means they can think, communicate, perceive, and interact differently with the world. To make it clearer, let's use an analogy. Imagine that our brains are like cell phones. The vast majority of devices use the Android system. This is the most common, most typical operating system. That's why people with this more common brain function are called neurotypical. A much smaller number of people use iPhones, and their operating system is iOS, so let's call them atypical. Some apps that work well on Android may not work the same on iOS and vice versa. It doesn't mean that one phone is better than another, just that they are different. The different devices have different characteristics even when using the same operating system. Your cell phone from 10 years ago doesn't compare to today's. Likewise, neurotypicals are not all the same, just as autistic people are not. That's why we talk about the autistic spectrum, which is a continuum. There are people with many symptoms and also others with so few characteristics that even experts can disagree about the diagnosis. But there are, of course, some features that, when present, can alert us to the possibility of autism. Remember that to fit the spectrum, a person does not need to have all the characteristics that I will mention here. It also doesn't mean that if you have 2 or 3 traits, you can be considered autistic. The diagnosis will depend on the number and intensity of the signs and how much they impact the individual's life. The definitive diagnosis must be made by a specialist, a neurologist, a psychiatrist, or a neuropsychologist, but thinking about the possibility already makes all the difference. So, what are the 10 common characteristics of people on the autism spectrum? 10. Hypersensitivity to sounds, smells, and textures. The person tends to notice small sounds when others don't. It's not about better hearing or better smell. It's a different thing. A perception. Neurotypical people are usually not bothered by low and continuous sounds, such as the noise of the air conditioner, the clock ticking, or chewing. They manage to listen but soon start ignoring them. People on the autistic spectrum may be highly uncomfortable with these same sounds. Autistic people are also often bothered by clothing labels and fabric or food textures. That's why this characteristic of being hypersensitive to sounds, smells, textures. 9. They focus more on details than on the whole. That story. They can focus on the tree but can't perceive the forest. Some autistic people are able to describe an individual's nose in detail, but are unable to recognize the same person after seeing him or her only once. 8. Attachment to routines. People on the autism spectrum can be very uncomfortable when interrupted and like to follow routines. For example, they always get ready in the same order, go to work in the same way, and eat the same breakfast. They are highly attached to rules and routines and can get very nervous if they need to get out of that routine. In addition, they may be more stressed if they have to divide their attention between two tasks, such as paying attention to what the teacher says and copying the board. 7. Difficulty. Reading between the lines when someone speaks, as people on the autistic spectrum have difficulty understanding the nuances caused by intonation or nonverbal language. They also tend to take everything literally, so they have trouble understanding ironies or certain jokes with double meanings, which can make them resentful for not understanding the speaker's real intent. 6. Difficulty making eye contact. Do you know someone who avoids your eyes when talking to you? Some autistic people may even be able to look you in the eye, but it's uncomfortable and tiring for them. Some people say they even feel a kind of physical pain when they do this. 5. Finds it difficult to understand people's intentions and can sometimes be incredibly naive. The person on the autistic spectrum may have difficulty imagining themselves in the other person's shoes and understanding their motivation. 4. It isn't easy to understand what the other is thinking or feeling just by looking at the person's face. The person is angry or sad and can't figure it out. On tests where the person must recognize other people's emotions just by looking at their image, they often do worse than neurotypicals of the same age unless they have received training to identify these patterns. If the girlfriend is upset with him, for example, and keeps her face closed, the autistic person may not realize she is angry unless he speaks clearly. 3. The person is very antisocial. They dislike participating in group meetings and are very nervous in these situations. This doesn't mean that autistic people don't like to make friends. They like it and even try. But they need more social skills to be accepted by the group. Not feeling accepted causes them specific social anxiety, which makes interaction even more difficult. In addition, your auditory and visual hypersensitivity makes very noisy environments, with many people and/or many lights, extremely stressful. They end up avoiding parties, and when they have to attend such events, they feel exhausted. 2. Very big hyperfocus on things involving technology, scientific knowledge, instruments, tools, etc. That is activities that do not involve people. More is needed for a person to be interested in these subjects. It is a very intense interest, almost an addiction. The person wants to read about it, talk about it, etc. This hyperfocus often causes the autistic to become an expert in their interest. This can also be an advantage in the workplace. Many companies in Silicon Valley only hire autistic people for specific jobs because they are well above average. 1. It may seem rude or childish because it is heartfelt. It is challenging to understand what it is, and speaking in every situation is inappropriate. If they are not guided, they may, for example, say that someone's outfit is ugly or comment about intimate matters at the dinner table. Want to take the test now? Do you fall on the autistic spectrum? Take a paper and a pen. To do the test, I will take the AQ10, a reduced version of the most validated test with 50 questions, but this one is also validated. Number from 1 to 10. You will have to divide your paper into 4 columns. First, I completely agree. That's 100% of the time. Second, I partially agree most of the time. Third, I almost always or partially disagree. Last, I almost never or strongly disagree. That will never happen. Let's go. 1. I often notice sounds that other people don't remember, like the air conditioner. It always bothers you when nobody cares. Mark your note on the paper. Strongly agree, partially disagree, or strongly disagree. 2. I usually focus more on the whole of an image rather than the small details. Do you see the forest or focus more on the trees? Again, give your grade. 3. I find doing more than one thing at once easy. Give your rating. You always manage to do it occasionally, rarely or never. 4. If interrupted, I can quickly return to what I was doing. You were writing when the phone rang. Can you get back quickly, or is it challenging? Give your note. 5. I find it easy to read between the lines when someone is talking to me. Can you recognize that that person is into you, sad, or woke up in a bad mood about a specific thing and you realize you do not like the subject and change it? Or you don't understand anything and keep talking? Give your grade. 7. When I'm reading a story, do I have difficulty predicting the character's intentions? It could be a movie. You know that character is evil. Or do you understand that the other character is in love with the girl? 8. I like to collect information about categories of things. Cars, birds, trains, plants, etc. You have an intense interest in something. When you go to Google, do you always search for that thing? 9. I think it's easy to tell what people think or feel just by looking at their faces. Do you glance at them and already know what the person is thinking or feeling? Last, 10. I find it hard to understand people's intentions. You can't understand why this person is doing that. Can you never see the evil in things? Give your note. And now let's do the sum of the points. How to do this? 4 questions, 1 7 8 10, the agreement. If you answered totally agree or partially agree, may indicate autism. For the other 6 questions, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 9, disagreement may indicate a sign of autism. If you answered totally disagree or partially disagree, it could be a sign of autism. You will give 1 point if you totally or partially agree with questions 1, 7, 8, and 10. You will give 1 point if you totally or partially disagree with questions 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 9. And now, do you have many points? Having signs of autism does not mean you are autistic. According to the test, scores of 6 or higher can be indicative of autism. No single test is ever wholly conclusive, and the AQ10 you just took could be more comprehensive. But higher scores may warrant further investigation. If you scored 6 or more, look for a specialist to be further investigated. Thank you so much for watching, and feel free to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more informative content. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below. Remember to share so that more people have this knowledge. And what will be the following video you'll watch? I'll leave 2 recommendations here on the side. Stay healthy, stay happy.